Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Hello everyone, how are you? Today we're having an episode in English, so please keep up with the conversation. My name is Jaime Sotamayor. I'm the host of Innovación Sin Barreras, and today in this live podcast at Impactaland, I have Tamara Parraguez. She's gonna be co-hosting this program. Let me share a little about Tamara. Tamara is founder of Love and Fear Studio, a global emotional design studio. She helps leaders and brands communicate with authenticity by connecting identity, story, and emotion. Her work spans Chile, Mexico, and beyond, partnering with projects that want to go deeper than design, toward true emotional expressions.
Thank you, Jaime. I'm so happy to be here.
Welcome, and before we jump in with our guest of today, can you share us a little bit how you ended up doing all these things?
I think number one, because I'm a very curious person, and then I decided actually to become a designer, and I just kind of like just fans, see the maximum your curiosity. So I moved from communication and working more in the art direction area, and then I've always thought businesses. So one day I just wanted to connect with people from the entire perspective of what they were building. And after London, I can tell you later, but I did a program in London. I met a lot of beautiful people, and they encouraged me to kind of like do this global adventure of design from anywhere.
Awesome. And where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Chile, from Santiago, but I would say the last 3 or 4 years, I spend here between 3 to 4 months per year, because the rest of the day, I'm like, wherever clients find me.
Awesome. And where do you see yourself in the following years, say 5 years from now?
5 years from now, probably between Mexico and somewhere in Europe.
Amazing. That's great. And for everyone who wants to follow what you're doing or what you're sharing, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
We are open channel everywhere, so you can just go to the website of our studio. You can the email runs directly to me and my team,
okay.
Or you can check our social media. Again, we're always behind it.
Okay, so go to Love and Fear Studio, right? Awesome. So now I'm gonna introduce a very good friend. He is Chris Roe. He is a global communication coach with a background as an actor, director, storyteller, and producer. For 6 years, he has lived as a digital nomad while coaching founders, executives, and creators around the world. He specializes in storytelling, confidence, public speaking, pitching, and helping leaders communicate with humanity in an increasingly tech-driven world. He also does hosting and speaking, and that's how I actually met Chris in the Volcano Summit last year. The story is fun, but I think for the sake of the episode, we'll just jump to, hi Chris, how you doing? Fantastic, thank you very much. And Tamara is gonna be leading here the interview, so the questions are all yours now.
Oh, thank you. Well, you can jump in at any time.
Of course I will, don't worry.
Am I okay this way?
Oh yeah, those are the available.
I was just too short, people. Sorry for that. We have tiny people today on the group. So, Chris, first of all, nice to meet you. This is so great. Like, finally knowing someone that you've been following online, and you meet them in person, and you get to interview them and talk to them on your first moment. So I was thrilled to get to know you and share your story.
Igual.
That's one thing that we actually share, that we're multi-language people, so please hang in there with us. Sometimes we get like those moments of like, let me load the language that I'm actually talking.
Even the native language.
Yes, 100%.
Sometimes it goes.
Yes, 100%. So, I would like to start from the beginning. So, how did you get into coaching and public speaking? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
You were talking about storytelling. This is honestly one of my favorite stories to tell. I still feel like I have to pinch myself to believe that it's true. But what you were saying, Jaime, in my intro, my whole background's in acting and directing and theater, and I did some stuff, TV commercials and film and short films. I lived in New York a long time. There was a point in my life where I was like, I'm looking for more. I wasn't making any money. You know, it's hard making money as an artist. And I started teaching English. And so I was an English teacher, an online English teacher, and I was doing a lot of different jobs in New York. And one random day, a friend of mine, an English teaching friend of mine, reached out to me and said, hey, I have this German guy that contacted me and he needs help with public speaking. He has some big presentation in English and he asked me if I could help him. And I said, well, no, but I have a friend, Chris, me, who's an actor and a director and an English teacher. Maybe he could help you. So I had a meeting with this guy and he told me what he had to do. He had to do a big presentation for, he was a founder of a conference in Germany. And he had to do the big, welcoming address. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the conference, blah, blah, blah. I said, sure, I can help you. That's like coaching an actor, right? Just in a different language and a non-actor. The first session that we met is when he told me the whole story, which was that he had to do his introduction in English, live, memorized, in front of 7,000 people. And part of this...
Not even a teleprompter or nothing.
Not a... And
cool.
Yeah, they were like in it, professionals.
Yes.
And the part that he left out until the first meeting was the biggest part of this opening presentation speech was to introduce their keynote speaker. And the keynote speaker that year was Barack Obama. And I still am like this. I still am. It doesn't seem real. And so I coached him. I coached the other two co-founders of the conference. After that was over, they said, you're really good at this. You should do more of this. You should start your own business. So I took their advice, and
That was your aha moment.
6.5 years later, here we are.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
So it started
cannot
in
get
Germany.
better than that.
It's
Maybe
insane.
We can just wrap it up.
Thanks, Chris, for coming. Hello, everybody.
Amazing
You're the nut
story.
jumper for contract.
Yeah, he got Barack Obama introduced.
That's how it is.
That's amazing. So, in that very improvised moment of like, I need to take my artistic career into business mode now, what skills do you feel like you brought from your background into that specific, probably example, but then that you implemented in your business?
The program that I ended up creating when I first started the business was based on the principles of how I learned to be an actor. And then also when I work with actors as a director, it was all about performance. And it was what goes into performing. And it's been this crazy journey that I kind of thought that everybody understood what this was. And I realized that the entertainment industry and let's say entrepreneurs, but I coach all different kinds of people and performance goes into all of this, but they seem so far apart to me, but they actually, an entrepreneur and an actor's life is literally the same thing. It's just different industries.
Yeah.
So what it is really about understanding, I break it into 3 categories: your voice, your body, and your emotions. And those are the foundations of acting. That's the foundation of performance. And to me, it's the foundation of communication. And so I just built, kind of like acting 101 for the non-artist. And I've just been building that. And that's the foundation of all the work I do. And it goes also into, I know what we'll talk about, of just being a human and connection. And that goes into the emotional part. But yeah, it's really about that. It's just about your voice, the things you already have. Your voice, your body, and your emotions. And that's the foundation.
Oh, that's super interesting. I think it's the first time that I hear someone who is coaching people to kind of like embrace the public speaking arena that actually mentions emotions. And I'm going to dive into this because this is my jam. So this is my business, actually.
Yeah.
But it's so refreshing to actually hear it from a colleague that it's in the other side of the scope of work. So for people listening, and then maybe this is a first for them as well, what's the emotional work involved in public speaking or in communication in general when it's not reading or it's not, as I would say, it's active, Because when you read a website or you're watching a YouTube video, there's a lot of editing in between. But when you're there, kind of like in front of people in real time, there's a lot of things happening. And emotions are kind of like a roller coaster. So if you could tell us a little bit about that part of the work that you do with your coachees.
See, sure.
Okay.
My coachees. There is a TED Talk that someone passed to me years ago, one of my very first coachees. And It's called You Are Contagious. Vanessa Van Edwards is the speaker, and she does public speaking coaching and communication coaching, and she's a great speaker as well. I use her as an example for everything. When I watched her TED Talk, I finally saw and heard someone put words to something I had felt my whole life as an artist. And when you're acting on stage and you're in front of whatever, 20, 100, 1,000 people, or when you're in the audience of a live event, it could be a music event, it could be an event like this, you can literally feel the energy. You can feel the energy of a room, you can feel the energy of a person, you can feel the energy of a situation. It's something I always had, but I didn't know this was something that you could put words to. And what she talks about is that emotions in a very like scientific way, they change, they shape, they move inside of us and they connect between us. And so she talks about, she did all these scientific studies, which I can tell you about later because it's actually a really good story. But she proved this with a test. And you can really, really impact people. You can change people. You can change the chemistry, the energy of a room just by being in touch with your own emotions, by understanding what they are, by labeling them, feeling them, and then using them. So it's just really showing up and going, how do I want to feel? And it sounds so simple, but it's so fucking powerful that it's like, how do I feel about what I'm talking about? And I think that gets lost because we focus, especially in this world, in this ecosystem, we focus so much on the product. We focus so much on the statistics, the data, the numbers. But I'm like everybody I work with in that ecosystem, I think, but how does this make you feel?
And I think it goes beyond the ecosystem because I think it's a question we are not used to ask ourselves, less other people, like, what am I feeling? Because then you need to actually start thinking, what emotions do I actually know so I can name them? And then it's like, do I actually know what they're about? And it's a long journey. So I would understand that freezing moment of like, no idea, kind of like the rabbit in front of the car situation. Yes. But okay, how do you break that ice, that first ice with your team?
There's an activity that I do in my program where I take it away from everything related to work. And I literally say to my coachees, I say, I want you to prepare a story for me about a crazy day in your life or the most beautiful moment of your life or the scary, like something really dramatic. And they'll come in and they'll tell me a story and it's like 15 seconds long and it's like, and I'm like, this was the most exciting day of your life and this is what, And so what I try to get people to like explain is we just go deeper and I just start asking why? Well, tell me more about that. And I dig. So then people can start getting into that emotional life of like that moment. And this is acting. If I'm playing a character, I have to put myself in that other person's shoes and an actor's job is to, as authentically and honestly as possible, recreate human life. And so that's the kind of mode or the method that I use of like helping that person connect to that moment that they experienced or felt a very strong, dramatic emotion. So then they're like, oh yeah, I feel it. And so then I connect that to the pitch. Then I connect that to an interview. Then I connect that to, a speech or something like that. And so they understand how they can easily remember those emotions and you can put yourself in that moment and those emotions start to like, I say bubble, right? They start to kind of like boil up to the top. And I go back to this, emotions are contagious. And I think about how they can kind of, I don't know what this is, but like,
Yes.
how they can kind of trickle out to other people and it affects us. And so that's what I really focus on is just, it sounds really simple, but I think it gets so overlooked because we're not used to it.
Yeah.
We're not used to identifying those emotions. We're not used to being aware of them. And then we're most certainly not used to using them effectively and intentionally. And that's the secret, I think.
100%.
Most pitching programs that I've had in the past, the facilitators and mentors, they're all former founders or VCs. nobody goes into the emotional part. It's like, just tell me the problem, give me the solution, the market, and that's it. But that works if it's only a slide that you're sharing through email. But when you're like face to face with someone and you don't have that emotion into it, you can lose the person. Even having a brilliant pitch, you lose the person's attention, or maybe he doesn't believe so much in his idea. So all those things, it makes sense.
A story I wanted to tell. I just worked with somebody recently, and she had to do a speech in front of a big group of people, and we were working together on making her feel really comfortable, calm, and confident, and to have fun.
Yeah.
And she was able to approach this whole thing that she had to do. It was scripted, so at least she wasn't memorizing this thing like the Obama guys. But she had this script, but she was able to approach public speaking in a brand new way, which was honestly just being you and authentic and having fun. Because there's a statistic out there that says public speaking is the number 2 fear in the world. And so when I tell people I want to have fun with public speaking, everyone's like, you're crazy. But she stepped into this, right? We were working together, and she stepped into this authentic, kind of calm and confident person. And the feedback that she told me she got from the other members on the executive team was, one was, who is that woman? And the other was, you should be running this company.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't about what she said. She was reading a script. It was how she made people feel. And even if they didn't know how they felt, what they saw was authenticity, and that changed to, or morphed into, leadership and trust. And so what you're saying, when people are pitching, they could have the most brilliant idea, but if there's not that connection...
I agree 100%. Because there's also kind of like, imagine the people on the other side of the pitch, their job is listening to pitches every single day.
All day.
All day. So they're basically watching the same template with different colors, different numbers, different voices. So there's no way to actually differentiate yourself in that sea of deck pitching. But when the most unique thing that you have is who you are, and it could be like you're, I don't know, extroverted or even introverted, or there's so many ways of actually creating human connection, but it's really hard to do it when you're not being yourself. Like, it's impossible. Okay, I love it. Let's talk a little bit more about the ecosystem and the world that we're facing today. Like, taking the thread with human connection, because of course, we tend to be on the tech area, but more now than ever, like, there's a hype of it. And it's gonna keep like getting higher and faster and more of it. Probably in 3 more years, more than 50% of every business will be a tech business. How do we bring humanity and the human essence as as a motor engine, for businesses in the tech industry today?
I don't have the answer.
That's good.
But what I know is the one thing that has existed as long as humanity is stories.
Yes.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
And you can't really have storytelling without emotions. And so to me, the pendulum is swinging, right? It's like we're in a very divided society as well, but like with tech and with AI, we're going boom.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come back, like it has to swing back. It can't stay all the way over here. But to me, what I've witnessed, what I've seen is with the swing of this, we've gotta take the human side with it, or it's just noise, like you had mentioned. And it's just product, and it's just statistic, and it starts to feel false. And people can identify that. So what I think is it's just we have to, when I talk to founders, for example, it's your opportunity to be the face of your brand. And so you can have this amazing slide deck or like a super cool video, or you can have all these great visuals. And you could have a voiceover that's like, sounds like this the whole time, and it doesn't match. And so to me, that's this huge problem, is when it doesn't match, and then you can feel that. And a lot of people can't understand why this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right because there's no connections.
Exactly.
And without connection, I think there's no kind of future, you know what I mean?
There's no moving forward.
No.
You know, like you have elements like in the equation, but there's nothing moving forward in there. What you mentioned about like, I also work with a lot of founders, developing their business brands and their strategies. And most of the times they're part of that business and strategy per se. I feel like they're not just a face, like they're the soul. Like their whole role is to share vision and the soul of their business. And if they're not doing an emotional work or mapping of who they are, it's really hard to put yourself out there with your business and actually stand out. Because just imagine everyone using the same templates, the same visuals, the same colors, the same type of. It's just kind of like our brains are numb. Like I cannot distinguish like from a fintech, from a health tech, from banking sometimes, because everyone's just using the same language. And then you go into their founders and you kind of like want to connect with them, like hearing it as a first person speech. And they are also trying to be someone else. So they're mimicking another founder, and then they'll get kind of like, it's beyond noise. It's just like a hum.
It's inauthentic.
Yes.
And inauthentic is uncomfortable.
Yes.
And people can feel that. Even if they don't know the words to label, you can feel inauthenticity, and you're like,
You're wired to reject it.
Yes.
Because that's who we are as a species. Like if it's not creating a spark somewhere in your brain and inside of you, we are wired to disconnect. And I feel it's also happening a lot with this pandemic of disconnection. You know, we're always on our phones, we're always on our laptops, we're always in some Meet, Zoom, Google something. But once we put it down or the meeting is over, a lot of people are feeling super lonely and they're disconnected in a human way. So I feel like what you do, empowering other people to use a physical space and a stage and create those moments of connection, even if it's not one-on-one all the time, it's key moments to kind of like connect with them and remember that we're human beings. And
to me, something that is super cool too is before I started all this, I was teaching English, and I was teaching English online.
okay.
So I've been working, with a headset and a camera for, 10 years at least. And what you just said about that connection and that synergy that you can feel in person, you can recreate it online too. Because it's really curious. I work throughout the world, and when I work in the US, those are the people that don't come on the camera the most. It's very curious. I have the most just audio messages, audio meetings when I'm working with people in the US. And I'm like, well, this is curious, a cultural thing. But what I create, like, I'm no different on camera than I am in person. And I'm no different than I'm on, a stage of 1,000 people and I'm on a one-on-one Zoom call. This is acting for the camera. It's how you can push your emotions, how you can push your energy through the camera. So we can be speaking, I can be in Germany and you can be in Australia or wherever, and we can still have that connection. You can change the chemistry of a person with the sound of your voice, with the look in your eye, the way that you're sitting. It all is translatable. It's not the same, but we can get really, really close, especially how you set things up and how clear you look and everything. And that's acting for the camera, how, like, we don't have a soundtrack, we don't have special effects. I guess you could put the emojis on your face and things like that.
Some fun filters.
If you could put filters on for sure, but we can turn that part of technology can still be very, 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 very human. You can make it feel like, this is what clients tell me, coachees tell me when I'm working with them, is like they just feel so comfortable. That's intentional. And that comes from years of experience of being on the camera and understanding how to transmit and transmute emotions and energy and connection, even if we're not here being able to touch one another,
And where I've seen a lot of this happening right now, it's social media. A lot of the influencers that we follow, we really connect with them, because they feel they share their authentic life, and you can tell when they're not being authentic with one another. And now I'm seeing more and more founders sharing their journey, their role, and connecting with more audience. And that's a way of how to reach to a wider audience, and that brings you the next investor, the next client. So that training not only works for pitches, it also helps to show yourself on the screen, on the mobile device, how you can reach to more people. I don't know if you've been helping people also on that aspect.
I started doing that now, and just working with people get more comfortable with all of that, because something else that I learned from my acting background is that people didn't get access to this information that I had, whether it was something I learned in school, on stage, on camera, or just who I am. And so holding a phone and like speaking into the camera, there's people that will say, I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, I'm trying to build my Instagram audience, but something feels flat.
I mean, it's unnatural. We're not used to
natural
talking to ourselves.
No.
Because it starts from a point of like very low purpose. It shows like if that's your only goals, you're not gonna have the drive, your inner drive to show yourself there. So you become just an ad, and people can actually see that.
I can feel it.
But like what you said, like you go deep, like kind of like craving into the like, let me go into the under the surface, dig. With the why, because that's also something we don't ask ourselves, or in a business model enough. Like, why are we doing this? Like for real? That's what people wants to actually know. And I'm going to take what you mentioned, because I found it super interesting. All these vendors kind of like building in public.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's great, but it's also kind of like faces a challenge that people also want to become like a template of how you build in public. And it's just killing the entire beginning of the issue, that it's like, show who you are. Because then you start looking, I don't know. This is one thing I would like to ask you that I feel like a lot of founders would find interesting. Because the founders that I work with, sometimes they tell me like, camera is not for me. I cannot become the video person. I'm literally, I will need to be reborn. And sometimes I suggest them that they find their own format. I feel there's also more than just video, where you can show yourself as well and connect with people. What would you advise to this type of founder out there?
You're talking about someone that is inherently introverted and shy and timid and not used to putting themselves out there?
Yes, and like also people who just sound like they can be the greatest at a conversation, and a camera shows up, and it's like they're being abducted by another human being. You know, it happens.
For sure. Honestly, it goes back what we were talking about of talking into a phone. I have some people where there's a guy that I was working with, and he hired me to coach him. He said, I'm super monotonous. I sound super boring when I'm leading meetings. And I was like, okay, I hear this all the time. But when we were talking, I'm like, this guy's charismatic. He's full of personality. Like, I would love to have a beer with him. And then I said, okay, show me your presentation. And it was 180 degree different. And I said, oh, this is why you hired me. Because it was just... And what I realized was two things. One, people don't understand how to connect with the words that are coming out of their mouth, or the script they're reading, or the presentation, the pitch deck that they might have on the screen behind them. It's about... I learned this from Shakespeare. I studied Shakespeare in graduate school. I was a part of 2 Shakespeare theater companies in New York and Chicago. And I learned how to bring words to life by studying the master storyteller, which is Shakespeare. So one, it's about that connection that you have to the... I know it sounds very simple, but we don't think about it. We don't think about what words sound like, how they feel, like why we're specifically using that word to describe this thing. So that's one. And the other is this skill, I guess, of picking up your phone and talking like this. Is what you mentioned is we're not used to like talking to ourselves. But that's when I've worked with people and I say, oh, I see what the problem is here. You're just talking to yourself on the camera like this. You're not actually thinking. When you were introducing all of this, you're talking. There's nobody here. We're sitting at this table in the middle of a...
What do you mean?
There's nobody here.
They're watching me. You're listening, right?
But you're putting that mental energy into that camera, thinking about the audience that's currently listening to us, even though there's no one listening to us live, right? We're recording this, but it's that what's this word? I don't know what's happening with my hands
It's
today.
also my episode 240 by now, so something I've learned throughout the years.
But that's it. That's the other thing is practice.
Of course.
It's just practice, and it's instead of talking at somebody, it's talking to somebody, even if that person doesn't exist. And two quick things I wanted to mention about the life of an actor and how that's relatable to founders is, one, when I used to audition, or I was in a play where I was the only actor. It was a one-person show. I played 7 different characters,
Oh my God.
talking to myself in conversation the whole time. There's nobody there. It's an hour and 30-minute long monologue, basically, where I'm literally creating the image of that other person in my mind. That's auditioning too. You come into a room and you're doing a monologue and you're creating that false, connection. There's nobody there. So it's that as well. It's that whole thing of that overlap of how you're creating that connection. The other thing, when you were talking about how investors are listening to pitch, if everybody's doing it the same and you come in and you're doing it just a little bit different, you stand out immediately. And it's like all of a sudden a symphony to their ears because they're listening to the same freaking format, the same structure, the same words. You come in and you do it just a little bit different.
Yeah, it creates
stand
two
out.
effects. It's like their brain reset.
100%.
It's like, okay, let me pay attention. Something happens. And then even if they were not looking to invest maybe in that particular idea, they're like, who's that guy?
100%.
And like, let me check it out. And it might not be me, but I know someone who. But that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of conversation in social media about, the attention economy. And I feel sometimes the conversation is a little bit misled in the fact that it's not that we need to hijack people's attentions, kind of like kill someone else for that 3 seconds of somebody. It has to do with offer something valuable enough, different enough, human enough for them to say, oh, this is already changing this script, this never-ending script that we all know, and say, okay, this is just different. I need to know more to see if it's for me or not. It already gives you the place to choose, which the other formula is just, there's no choosing that.
I started this business in Germany, of all places.
Oh my gosh.
And now I work all over the place. I focus a lot here in Latin America. And so moving between, Latinos and Germans it's a thing. But I remember a couple years ago, I went to Germany to coach a pitch competition. And they introduced me and I stood in front of everybody and I said, okay, welcome. Hello, I'm Chris. Da, da, da. And I said, okay, I have a question. How many of you tomorrow when you pitch are planning to start your pitch with, hello, my name is... And every single one of them raised their hand. And that was not my expectation. I thought a lot of them would raise their hand, but every single one. And I said, oh. And I said, okay, in my humble opinion, don't do that. And their eyes got really big. And there was a guy that said, but that's what they told us to do.
Of course.
And I said, I know that's what they told you to do, but
That's the whole point. You want to be different.
and it's not radical, it's just do something like 3% different than everybody else and you stand out.
Also because if you're in entrepreneurship, the entire meaning of an entrepreneur is to do things different. I've been told what to do. Those kind of businesses do not really stand out. They can do good money, if you're saying the status quo. But if you're looking into this new adventure of going into a parallel side, you just also divided on the formats that you are trying to put your business.
It's that word I hear all the time in this ecosystem, be disruptive.
Oh.
Right? That word of being disruptive. And I think it's a very dramatic word. And being disruptive can be subtle. Be disruptive in your communication. Be disruptive in your leadership. be disruptive in your product and all the things that you're creating and you're making and you're dreaming, but like be disruptive here from your heart. And it's this unknown kind of untangible thing that changes everything. You look at charismatic people. I took a test. There's a German that developed this test on your voice. It can develop a charismatic score. And they did all these different...
Funny because it's like it takes a German to science something that is supposed to be very artistic.
Very intangible. Let me just put it into an
Totally.
Excel
It's
sheet.
like an algorithm.
Yes.
At first I was like, how are they going to measure this? So they interviewed all these different people and they played different clips from people like Oprah, Obama, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these things, so that they could get a test of what people responded to, right? So it's measurable in a scientific way because it impacts people. It makes people listen, it makes people connect, and it might make people take action. And that, to me, going back to the woman I was telling you that I coached that had this reaction of leadership, honesty, trustworthy. Look at some of the leaders in the world without getting into politics. You look at very charismatic people that grab your attention and then you trust them. Even if that might not be, the most... I'll just leave it there.
Well, that's 100% true. And I have to be the bad one to say we're reaching the end of the episode. So do you have a last question for Chris before we end?
Yes. In this AI era, what would you advise founders and teams who are building tech today to implement on a daily basis? Any advice that you can provide to not just improve their public speaking skills, but what public speaking can actually infuse into their businesses?
I coached somebody a couple years ago, and he said something to me like, Chris, oh my God, I'm so exhausted of pitching, fundraising. It's so exhausting. And I said, I get it. I mean, I spent half of my life as an actor, right? And I said, all right, well, like how many times have you pitched? And he said, like 15. I went, 15? 15? Like,
Time?
oh my gosh, we got to work on this. But to me, why that felt exhausting to him is because his why was not connected to his words. And I do this too, is when I'm flying all over the world or when I'm like, I don't know where I am, I don't know what language I'm speaking, I am so exhausted, right? But I remember, like, before I left Mexico to fly down here, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, this is magic.
Yeah.
This is magical, my life right now. Like, pinch me, somebody, please pinch me. And I think that's what I dig with clients. I go to return to your why. That is the spark of everything. Not just the original idea you might have had, but like why you're working so hard, why you're sacrificing so much, why you don't see your family, why you are sleeping on a plane, It takes it back to what was the original spark, because that original idea is also connected to that original emotion. And that's the life of an actor. You look at actors on Broadway, they do 8 shows a week, 6 days a week. They have 1 day off. It's the same thing as a founder. They're showing up. It's the same script. It's the same lights. It's the same sound. It's the same music, the same costumes, the same everything. The only thing that changes is the person that's listening to you. So it's that tiny little reminder of this is the first time that person gets to hear what you're saying. And when we connect the message, the product, the vision, the mission, all of that to that original spark, just take a tiny step back and go, what did I start all this for? It literally will make you start talking about what you're trying to do in a new way every single time. It's the Obama story I told at the beginning. I've told that story a trillion gazillion times, and it never gets old.
More time than that founder.
Yeah, more time than that. One more time than that founder. But yeah, that's it. It's just remember why you're doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
Oh, that's a great advice. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris, again for sharing all your knowledge, your experience, your anecdotes. This is amazing. If anyone wants to reach out to you, get training, coached by you, what the best way to reach you?
You can go to my website, chrisroe.com was taken. I'm really active on
I can
LinkedIn.
sell it back to you if you want.
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
We can tag it somewhere. Yeah.
I went to go get it, and it was someone doing portraits of babies, so we're a little bit different. I'm there on my website. I'm really active on social media, on LinkedIn. I'm Chris Roe Coaching on Instagram. My YouTube page, we're starting to create more things like that. And I, just like you, I respond to everything, and I'm very active there. Or you can find me at any event.
Yeah, it's not an AI, by the way.
Yeah.
No
No.
bots, only human people.
No, just me. Or you can find me at any of these crazy events that I go to all over the world. I run into people everywhere. So
And Tamara, thank you very much for leading the questions. They were amazing. Also, if anyone here listening, seeing you, wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach you?
loveandfearstudio.com.
Perfect.
You have everything there. Social media, email, WhatsApp, everything. Just choose your pick.
There you go. Okay, well, there's no excuses now. Go improve your pitch, your emotions. And thank you for joining us in this Impactaland Live Podcast. See you soon in another episode. Bye.
Bye. This was great.